One of the pleasures of my life is I have the opportunity to travel. And as a younger man, I wanted to travel. And then as I got older, I was able to travel, both for pleasure and for work. And I traveled to some of the most amazing places. I remember coming out of the hotel in Cairo, Egypt, and every direction I looked, it felt like there were millions of people. And then I've been way back in the wilderness, up in Alaska, where they flew us in on a little plane and came down and landed on the lake. And the guy who let us off, my son and I and a couple of their friends, he said, you know, there's nobody that can get here unless they took a plane, because we're so far in the middle of nowhere. And in all these travels, I began to ask kind of a similar question. I would find people and I would ask them this question: can you tell me about your dream? And if you ask that of a small child or a young teenager, every single one of them had an answer for that. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a movie star. I want to sing. You didn't have to do that to anybody. You didn't have to tell anybody the answer. And they didn't sit there and think about it. They had an answer. What is that? We call that the dream. It's something, you're obviously not falling asleep and having a dream. It's not that you're having a nightmare. It's that you're awake. And you have something that's not in reality yet, but you would love it to be in reality. That's called your dream. And your parents didn't tell you when you were younger what that dream should be. Hopefully they didn't. But you knew it. Something that you saw. I want to be a famous football player. I want to be an artist. Where did that come from? The child didn't sit down with a piece of paper and say, you know what? I want to make a list of 20 different options for me to have a dream about, and I'm going to pick my favorite. No. Where was it? It was already in them, wasn't it? Because they didn't sit down to try to figure it out. It just came out of them. It's what they kind of do when their mind is just kind of flitting around and they're thinking about, oh, I would love to do that. I wouldn't want to do that, but I would love to do that. And sometimes I would ask kids, you know, who said something like, I want to be an astronaut. Would you like to be a teacher? No, I don't want to be a teacher. Do you want to be a painter? No, I want to be an astronaut. I want to go up there. And what is that? They knew what they didn't want to do. Where'd that come from? They never painted a house before. They were too young to go teach in a classroom. So how did they know all those things? And where'd you get your dream from? I mean, the one that if we were to, you know, kind of go into your heart a little bit and push all those cobwebs perhaps away, and maybe where the scars were from some pain that happened about that dream, or when somebody came in from the side and squashed your dream and wounded you in the process. But if you just let me for a minute, what's all in there? What's way down inside of your heart that you would say, oh, if I could do anything, I would love to do that. That's what we're talking about. It's not my dream. It's your dream. And is it okay with you if my dream is about your dream? Because it is. What do you mean? I mean, one of my primary dreams is to help people do their dreams. So we kind of overlap a little bit. Because when I help you, maybe even a little bit or maybe a lot, you're going to find your dream coming back alive, and maybe it's like somebody comes in and says, do you know there's a path you could walk on here? You don't have to go way down in the rocks down there and spend years wandering around and not getting what you want. If you just turn right here And when you turn right there, you find out yourself saying, oh man, this is so much better. I finally know where I'm going and what to do. Well, then guess what happens? When you find that, guess who's cheering? Well, you are. But is it okay with you if I am too? Because I've helped so many people around the world with this. Children, young people, adults, people that gave up because of illness, people that gave up because of a brutal personal relationship that destroyed all self-confidence, people who were lost when their kids grew older and they left and there was this empty nest and it was too quiet and there was nothing to do and the mother just scratched around in her heart, and because her dream was for her kids, she couldn't find her way to find the other part of her dream, which is not connected to her kids, because that's another part of the dream. But what about her personal dream? It's all those reasons. But isn't it true that everybody still's got that down deep inside? Now, it may have changed over the years, because when you're 6 and you want to be the president, probably by the time you're 20, you don't want to be the president anymore. Why not? Because your dream is really to do something important. And at 6, that's being the president. Or to help a lot of people. What is that? That's being the president. What about you? Would you permit probably one of the most precious things you have, your dream, to come out of the closet? And can we talk about it? And can I share with you some of the lessons I've learned after all these years of not only helping other people with their dreams, but working on my own, because I've worked on a lot of them and I've learned an awful lot of things the hard way. You know, it's interesting. This morning, that's a Sunday, I went to go visit a church of a very good friend named Dr. Tony Evans. He's a great preacher with a magnificent church in Dallas, Texas. He's a man of integrity. I know his wife, I know his children. I've met, I think, all of his grandchildren personally. And I was in town to make this series that we're talking about right now, and I visited his church this morning. And afterwards, we had lunch together between his 2 services. But do you know when he introduced me in the first service? Because I've spoken at his church, I think, 4 times, 4 series. Afterwards, all these people came around from warm memories from the past. And do you know the number one thing they talked about to me? This morning. They didn't know what I was going to be doing this afternoon. They didn't know anything about that. You know what they talked about? Is when I taught them about living their dream. And you should have heard the stories that I heard this morning. I mean, I didn't need to drive here. I could have flown here. There was a businessman who came up this morning and said, when you talked about that, he said, I pulled that dream that I'd forgotten and I buried and said it was impossible back out of my heart. And he said, I shocked everybody and I went to visit Africa to help orphans. Now, I'm a major businessman in Dallas, Texas, and they couldn't believe, with all the staff I had, that I would go to Africa to help orphans. And he started laughing. He said, since you taught me that, guess how many times I've been back? I didn't know, 3 or 4, 30. This was this morning. You've gone back 30 times? Yes. And then I started bringing my friends with me, and they got hooked on helping these kids. And we built little orphanages, and then we built a school, and then we built a church, and then we went to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. I tell you, you should have seen the light in his eyes. He couldn't stop talking about this. And he said, you know, now part of my dream isn't for me doing it, it's me helping other people to live their dream, because a lot of people want to help and just don't know what to do. And he said, I've learned what to do. That's it. What about yours? How about pulling it out? How about taking the chains off? How about taking the ropes that are around the wings of your dream and clipping them off and taking your dream? Isn't it time to let your dream fly again?